Good day everyone once again. This is, as you've seen before, my Sony Watchman model FD210 handheld portable TV from 1982, and as you guys are well aware, I'm a big fan of these handheld or pocket size portable TVs. I have 9 of them now, 7 of which I've yet to show you, and of course I'll be showing you those in future videos eventually. I got my first one of these in 2010, and it was the Sony Watchman FD30, which I still have. And back when I got that TV in 2010, analog television still existed in Canada. We had analog television until 2011, so for a little over a year I got to enjoy my FD30 using it as it was originally intended, receiving a wireless signal through its antenna. I could pick up 2 channels, the local CTV station, which was about 100 kilometers away. I could marginally pull in that channel. And then there was a global TV transmitter a bit closer, about 30 kilometers away, that I could pick up more easily. And then eventually 2011 rolled around and Industry Canada declared analog TV dead, and the CTV station switched to digital. The global station didn't. They were actually allowed to continue transmitting in analog because they were a low power station, but eventually in 2012 or 2013 that transmitter just shut down completely. They didn't bother converting it to digital. So ever since then I've never been able to use my many pocket TVs as they were originally meant to be used, and that I think is why these are so cheap and easy to get on eBay now. You can just buy a pocket TV for pocket change, for the most part anyway. There's certain models like this FD210, a couple other Watchman models, and a few Casio models that fetch a bit more money simply because of their vintageness or their rarity. But for the most part, these are incredibly cheap to buy now, and I would bet that it's because you simply can't use them anymore. The only way to use them now is through the external antenna jack, if your particular TV has one, and then you can connect a VCR or a satellite TV receiver or whatever you want. Or some newer models, especially Casios, will have a AV input jack, a composite input jack that you can connect to the composite output of a video device. But who wants to use a handheld TV when it's tethered to a cord? You know, the whole purpose of these was to be able to walk around freely and watch TV. And you simply can't do that with these now because there's no real analog TV stations anymore. Well, I've got something incredibly cool to show you today that solves that problem. What you saw in the beginning of this video was not trickery, it was not fake, it was 100% real, and exactly as you saw it, this TV was receiving a signal wirelessly through its built-in antenna. I have something to show you today which I learned from another YouTube video that I'm going to relay to you, and it works incredibly well, and it's quite easy and inexpensive to set up, and it'll let you run your portable TVs as they were originally meant to be used, totally wirelessly. Now, if you're quite active in the vintage television enthusiast community, you may already know of one way to achieve this. Many people today in the vintage TV community make use of a device, a commercial piece of video equipment made by a company called Blonder-Tongue, called the Blonder-Tongue Agile Modulator. And what the Blonder-Tongue Agile Modulator is, it was a device meant for distributing RF to several television sets throughout a building, say for example in a hotel. Perhaps in a hotel, if you had TV channels coming through a single coax cable, what you would do is you would input that into a Blonder-Tongue Agile Modulator, and the Blonder-Tongue Agile Modulator has a coax RF output on it, and it amplifies the signal and sends it to that output. So that output is a very amplified signal. And then you can split that signal through as many taps as you need and run coax into every room of the hotel. So every TV set in the hotel has access to those TV channels, And the reason it's amplified is so you can run that signal into several TV sets and run it over a long distance without signal loss. So that's what those Blonder-Tongue Agile Modulators were originally meant for, and I believe they have a composite AV input on them as well. But people have discovered that if you run a signal into a Blonder-Tongue Agile Modulator and put a standard old TV antenna on the output, like this antenna, the output signal that the modulator produces is strong enough to actually generate a fairly strong wireless signal output through that antenna. And I don't have any concrete numbers to give you, but I've seen videos where people have used Blonder-Tongue Agile Modulators to get a wireless TV signal throughout their entire house. It's really, really cool. And people use them not only for portable TVs like this one, but many full-size mains-powered TVs, early ones, have no inputs on them at all. They just have their built-in rabbit ear antenna. And so the easiest way to get a signal into those, especially for as huge and heavy as those TVs are, is to just transmit a signal wirelessly to them. And people have discovered that you can use the Blonder-Tongue modulators for that purpose, which is really cool. And so for a long time I've been planning on getting a Blonder-Tongue modulator. You can find them on eBay for under $100 if you're lucky. But the problem with those Blonder-Tongue modulators is, first of all, there were many different models made, and some of them are better than others. And it can be hard to tell which ones are going to serve your purpose adequately, because not all of them will. And the other thing is that the models that are well known for being good for this purpose are usually sell for more money on eBay. Another issue is that, you know, these were commercial pieces of equipment, so they're fairly electronically complex. And they were made for many years, some of them made as early as the 80s, and so sometimes you'll find them on eBay and they'll arrive and you'll discover them to be non-working. I've heard of people having to replace capacitors in them now. So you could pay a fairly sizable amount of money for a Blonder-Tongue modulator only to have it arrive not working. So this has sort of put me off from getting one, but what I've recently discovered is that there's another method of being able to generate a wireless TV signal that you can receive on a portable TV like this one. It works very well. It involves the use of a currently manufactured device. You can go right on Amazon and buy it for under $20, or if you're in the United States, under $10, lucky you. And it's a really cheap, currently available device, so low risk, inexpensive, and it works super well. And I'm very excited to get to show you that today. So I learned how to do this in someone else's YouTube video. They use the same product. So I'm not providing any new information here, but I'm simply redistributing it. So let me show you what I have done. So here's the device in question. It is a 1x1 model OUS 00-0693 HD TV antenna amplifier kit. And you can buy this brand new on Amazon, as I said. And here's the device itself. It's an antenna amplifier, so how you're supposed to use this is you screw in whatever antenna you want, like that one, screw it into here, and then you screw this into the antenna input of your television set. And it is a powered device, so it has a DC input jack right there, and it actually comes with an AC adapter to use with it, which interestingly is just a USB power brick. So the cord that it comes with is a USB cord with a barrel connector at the end, and then the brick itself is just a standard USB power brick, 5 volts, 100 milliamps. So that's cool, so you can plug these into whatever you want because they just run off USB. But you plug it in and the red LED comes on, and the whole point of it is it's an antenna booster. It boosts the signal that your antenna is receiving, help your TV set pick up more channels. That's the theory anyway. I don't know how well these actually work in practice. But here's what you do to do something more interesting with these. So basically the whole premise is you run these backwards. So what you do is you connect your antenna through the TV output. So your antenna connects to here, and then the antenna connection connects to whatever your video source is, a VCR, a set-top box, whatever you want. So you run the thing backwards, put your video source on the input and your antenna on the output, and it amplifies the signal coming in from your video source and outputs that amplified signal to your antenna, starts transmitting a signal out of your antenna, and that's pretty much it. But here's the thing though, just one of these is good enough to create a signal that reaches like a 10-meter radius, but that's not really good enough. You know, the signal doesn't really extend outside my living room with one of these, and I want better than that. So I bought a second one, and because people have found that you can run two of these in series and get a stronger signal, and that signal is good enough. For me personally, I can get a signal that reaches my entire apartment. That's pretty sweet. Basically the output of one connects to the input of the other. And then your antenna connects in here, but because the antenna also has a female connector, you need a male-to-male coax adapter, a gay coax adapter. So you screw it into one end, and then that antenna has a coax cable on it, which screws into this end, and then this can connect to VCR, DVD player, video game console, internet video device, whatever the heck you want. And of course it's a male, and the device is going to have a male jack on it as well, so you just need an ordinary coax cable, female to female, to connect to that. And both devices have to be plugged in, so these both came with power cords, and you just plug the power cords in, plug them into their brick, or in my case, what I've been doing, just for the sake of convenience, is I've actually been powering these from a USB power bank, a battery power bank. So I have this enormous 20 amp hour USB power bank that my mother bought me for my birthday a few years ago. It's got two USB ports on it, so I just connect each of them to the USB ports. There's no grounding issues. They're electronically set up. There's no grounding issues with having them run in series like this and powered off the same supply. And this is a standard old RCA branded antenna that I bought at a Family Dollar in the United States 10 years ago, and this is the first real use I've ever put it to. And it's one of these ones that you can electrically tune by turning this knob. And yeah, and that connects to these boosters, and the input of the boosters will go into my Memorex VCR here, and I have my DVD player connected via composite to the VCR. So the VCR is more or less just serving as an RF modulator for the DVD player, but of course I can play VHS tapes through it as well. And that's it. And what you saw in the beginning of this video was this whole setup running. I had a DVD playing in the DVD player. VCR outputs an RF signal into the boosters. Boosters are connected to the antenna, and I get a really good RF signal to play on my Sony Watchman. The video quality is excellent, and I've tested it on my color portable TVs. Excellent, perfect color. No distortion whatsoever in the video. Audio sounds great. No distortion in the audio. People have tested and they've found that 2 of these is a good sweet spot. If you try 3 in series to get even stronger signal, you start getting signal distortion. So 2 seems to be the sweet spot. And yeah, the quality is great, at least as far as my handheld TVs with their tiny low resolution displays are concerned. It looks great. It looks perfect. You know, there's no distortion or anything. sometimes people with the Blonder-Tongue modulators get distorted audio, or rather distorted video out of them because they have capacitors going bad. Well, that's not the case with these things. They're brand new. And yeah, it really works excellent. So what I'm going to do is I will wire it up again and we'll do a demonstration. Alright, it's a bit of a mess, but essentially I have the antenna coming in here and runs through both of the boosters. My VCR is connected right here, and they're both plugged into the USB power bank. And I've got my VCR playing a tape right now, and that tape has a color bar pattern. And yeah, there it is, and there's sound. And there you go, and as you can see, no distortion of the video whatsoever. Actually, I'm seeing the noise there is because the antenna's a bit floppy, but I see some very slight distortion. That's probably because I have coax running alongside the power cables. I find that causes a little bit of distortion, but otherwise it's just excellent. And so let's take a walk around my apartment and I'll show you how good the signal is throughout the whole apartment. So now we're about 10-15 meters away. Signal is 95%. A little bit of quality loss depending on how I'm oriented. Now we're in the bedroom. Quality still very excellent. And I can actually put the antenna down here. And there, the antenna is totally retracted inside the unit. If I put my finger on it, my body acts as a good enough antenna. But yeah, there you go. And this, when I tried this for the very first time, it was just like magic to me. Like, you know, years I've been collecting and having fun with these portable TVs, but it's always been tethered with them tethered to a cable coming into the external antenna jack, and now for the very first time I can use them wirelessly. It's like absolute magic. It is so darn cool. And you know, I have bigger plans with this than just, you know, playing stuff through my VCR or DVD player. There is a device you can buy. It's called a Roku. That's the company's name. There's a company called Roku that makes internet-connected set-top boxes. You connect them to your TV set and they connect wirelessly to the internet. And you can watch YouTube on them, you can watch Netflix, all sorts of services that are available on them. And Roku makes a model called the Express Plus. Their entry-level model is called the Express, and then there's a slightly higher end model called the Express Plus. And the main feature of the Express Plus over the Express is that the Express Plus has composite RCA jacks on it. So if you have an older television set that doesn't have HDMI, which is the main way that the Roku connects to your TV, the Roku Express Plus has a composite output, so you can connect them to an older television set. So if I got a Roku Express Plus and I connected its composite input to my VCR, I could watch YouTube, for example, on my vintage portable TVs. That, to me, is just a whole world of magic. Like, that's just so cool. So, I don't know when, but one of these days, not too far in the future, I plan to get a Roku Express Plus. They're like $30 or $40. And I will be having just a ball of fun watching internet video on a TV like this. It's absolutely tangibly pointless, but so much fun. You know, why the heck not? You know, I've got these TVs, why not do something so neat with them? I think that would be totally cool. And if you have one of these, you can do it too. You just need the TV, you need the Roku, and you need something that can input a composite signal and output an RF signal, so a VCR will suffice for that, or if you don't have a VCR, you can buy an RF modulator that'll do that job, and then 2 of those antenna boosters, and a regular old TV antenna, whatever one you want to use, and you're golden. And I think that's just incredibly cool. So, you know, in my opinion, just my humble opinion, this is a way nicer setup than the Blonder-Tongue modulators. It might be a bit messier, and the equipment might be lower grade. I mean, I haven't tested this on a full-size TV with a larger and higher resolution picture that might better show imperfections in the signal. But as far as these little TVs are concerned, I think this is a way nicer setup than the Blonder-Tongue modulators. It's cheaper, it's less risky because you're not buying used equipment. And yeah, I think this is just a fantastic idea. And a couple of people have asked me on Facebook, you know, I'm in an NTSC area. Would this work in a area that uses the PAL television system? Well, I'll answer it this way. The video I watched about the person who used those antenna boosters, they were in the UK, and they sell these exact same antenna boosters in the UK. And as a matter of fact, the antenna boosters specifications, it just says frequency range 47 to 862 megahertz. So these aren't, you know, and they call it an HD TV antenna amplifier when obviously it works with analog input. There's nothing specific about these, you know, it's just an RF amplifier. It doesn't care if it's analog or digital, doesn't care if it's NTSC, doesn't care if it's PAL, doesn't care if it's CCAM. It probably doesn't even care if it's a television signal. You could probably put whatever RF signal that's within that frequency range into this and it'll amplify it. So, and evidently these are available in the UK too. So wherever you are, you should be able to do this. But yeah, I think that is just so incredibly cool and just so awesome. I'm going to have so much fun using these TVs as they were originally intended once I get a Roku Express Plus. And maybe this is obvious, but in case it's not, I will mention, obviously, I'm picking up the signal on channel 3 because that's what my VCR is outputting. And those antenna boosters just output whatever you put into them. So I'm putting in channel 3, they output channel 3. And I'm tuned to channel 3. So there you go. I think that's really all there is to show of this wickedly cool way of putting my vintage portable TVs back into use. And if you have some portable TVs you'd like to try this with, I would highly recommend it. It's really fun. I will say one final thing regarding the legality of doing this. Technically, you're not supposed to do this. In Canada, they say no civilian transmission is allowed on the television band. But it's one of those things, I think, that is like, do no harm and no harm will be done to you. So, you know, the signal being output by this is not going to reach, probably not going to reach outside my apartment. You saw when we got down to the end of the hallway, it started breaking up a little bit. So the signal is not going to reach outside this place. It's not going to interfere with, you know, someone else's equipment. And as long as it's not interfering with anything, nobody's going to come hunting you down. You just got to be careful, and if somebody does hunt you down and says, hey, you're interfering with so-and-so's equipment, then you need to just, you know, abide by the rules and be respectful and stop doing it. Do something, I guess, to lower your signal strength. So yeah, this is not something that you're supposed to do, but I think as long as you don't interfere with anybody else's equipment, you're not going to have any issues. So, on that note, I think that's all there is to show of my new analog RF low power transmission setup for my vintage portable TVs. And hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to see what I can do with these TVs once I get a Roku. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.